Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining today's session. It's great to see so many of you here. We do expect a few more people to join, so we'll let them in as they do. My name is Jessica Rutiki, and I'm the Operations Manager at the Global Distributors Collective. We're happy to be hosting this webinar today in partnership with GET.invest. GET.invest is a European program that mobilizes investment in renewable energy in developing countries. To date, they've supported over 182 companies access finance. Today, we'll hear from the GET.invest Financial Readiness Support, and you'll get a chance to get your questions asked about this opportunity. As always, do drop the questions into the chat box, and the GDC and GET.invest teams will answer them in the Q&A session. So after a short introduction scene setting by myself, we'll hear more about the Finance Readiness Support from GET.invest, as well as two GDC members who have already benefited from the support, WidEnergy and Natfort investments. After which we'll have time to answer your questions. So again, please do drop them into the chat as we go along. We will be using polls throughout, all of which are anonymous, so you won't be able to be identified by any individual responses. And then lastly, I'll do a wrap up and next steps. So without further ado, let me introduce you to who we'll be hearing from today. So first off, we've got Divya Balakrishnan, who is a senior advisor managing the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support since 2021, when the pilot phase of this service was launched. A crucial element of her work is to gather insights through conversations with clients like yourselves, so she can continuously improve the service. We'll also be hearing from Lilian Nadabanezi, who is the CEO and co-founder of WidEnergy Africa, a social for-profit company based in Zambia. WidEnergy focuses on lending portfolio and distribution networks. Their mission is to empower women to become champions and advocates of clean and renewable energy. And then finally, Tarisai Murariwa is the finance manager for Natfort Investments, the holding company of Natfort Energy. Natfort Energy is a for-profit social enterprise based in Zimbabwe, which distributes solar off-grid products to marginalized communities. So I'll now hand over to Divya, and we'll launch the first of our polls. Thanks, Divya.
Thanks, Jessica. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Shall I dive right in, or you have the poll going on in the background, I assume?
Yeah, we've got the poll up now.
Perfect. Would you like me to start presenting already, or do you want me to wait a couple of minutes?
Maybe let's just wait 1 minute while they get answers to the poll.
Absolutely. So just as a little background, you see the questions on the poll. Please do answer these as honestly as you can, because like Jessica said, your input really helps us shape the service better. So yeah, a gentle encouragement to respond to the poll here.
Please don't be shy. They are anonymous, so we won't know who's answering. I think we've got quite a shy bunch today, so maybe Divya, if you start the presentation.
All right, I will start presenting, and then thanks, Jessica. All right, so I don't know how many of you have not heard of GET.invest already, so I will in fact take us through the introduction in the beginning. And then we will speak about the different services that GET.invest offers before taking a deep dive into the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support. Um, please switch slides to the next slide. Yeah, on the agenda. I will talk a bit about what we did in the pilot phase, and you will also be able to read what different clients from the pilot phase have said. And then finally, we'll talk a bit about how you can apply for GET.invest services, also to the finance readiness support, of course, and yeah, what you can do to make your application successful. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to drop it in the chat or even maybe raise your hand if you'd like to, and then happy to take a pause and respond to you. Now, starting with GET.invest. GET.invest is a European program that is supported by the European Union, Germany, Norway, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria. We are also the Team Europe one-stop shop for green energy investments. Basically meaning that we support companies like yourselves, as well as much larger projects, utility scale as well, to access finance, right? The only factor being that each of our clients need to be working in the clean energy sector. And as you see there, we work across different market segments, clean cooking, productive use, distributors like yourself, solar home systems, etc. And we work across 3 geographies, but most of our work, I would say about 96, 97% of our work is indeed in sub-Saharan Africa. However, we also work in the Pacific and the Caribbean regions. Next slide, please. Could I have the next slide, please? There we go, thanks. So what you see on the slide here is the different services that GET.invest provides, right? So GET.invest works towards mobilizing investments for clean energy companies. This does not mean that we only work in providing technical advisory, but a big part of our job is to actually mobilize the entire sector. And in that sense, whether it's starting from market information, where, for example, we have a pretty cool funding database that you could also access through the GET.invest website, where you can access different kinds of financing instruments, different financiers, also try to see which countries they're active in. You can actually see individual financing instruments from each financier, for instance, and this database is indeed updated quite regularly. So yes, so in that sense, we create market information. We also have something called the market insight packages, which is it's an encyclopedia of everything you need to know about setting up a business in a specific sector in a specific country. So right from market information to supporting industry associations such as GDC in conducting webinars like this, but also supporting them in conferences and yeah, basically kind of bringing different sector stakeholders together to have conversations, but also capacity building. Additionally, we also work with domestic financial institutions, meaning banks or MFIs, to help them tailor their renewable energy, let's say, portfolio products to better suit clients like yourself. And then what you see finally on the screen here is that big box, which is the core of GET.invest, which is indeed the technical advisory services, which we will talk about very shortly. Next slide, please. So what you see here is the first of the 2 services that GET.invest has. Many of you have probably heard of the GET.invest Finance Catalyst. The GET.invest Finance Catalyst basically links clean energy projects and companies with finance, targeting small, medium, and also large-scale renewable energy opportunities by means of the 25 seasoned experts, 25 plus seasoned experts in the pool. And just to give you a scale of the work that the Finance Catalyst team has done, yes, we have helped companies, up to 78 companies and projects, to mobilize financing of 421 million euros of investment, meaning the financing agreements have been signed with these companies, right? And as of now, in their portfolio, there are 172 companies being supported by this team of experts. So it's a very flexible service, and it works very specifically to help you access financing. So that's what the Finance Catalyst team does. And now let's speak about what the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support is and why we have two different services. Next slide, please. All right, there we go. So the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support was actually built after extensive stakeholder consultation with including the different service partners you see there on the screen. And additionally, as a result of the learnings from the GET.invest Finance Catalyst, right? Basically, what we realized in our work of about 8 years or more in raising, or rather supporting companies to raise finance, is that locally owned and managed companies, specifically in sub-Saharan Africa, even though they are closer to the ground and they reach the absolute last mile customers, they need additional support to access suitable finance. And when I say additional support, we're talking about long-term customized support that is not limited to only access to finance support, right? This means literally anything it takes for the company to set up its operations, business, strategy, etc., to convince a financier to invest in them. So the intention of the service is to prepare companies to sustainably scale up. So we are, of course, we're not working with absolute pilot stage companies, but indeed companies that are looking to access debt, equity, and let's say more commercial financing. And for this work, we closely align ourselves with the partners, the 5 partners you see there. And each of these partners bring their own expertise. They guide us, for instance, on what kind of companies we should be absorbing, what is the need of the market, which they obviously gather through conversations with their members, such as yourselves. And so the intention is that the service really is customized to the needs of each of these locally owned and managed companies in sub-Saharan Africa. Next slide, please. Now, what does the service exactly offer? Because you're probably wondering what's the difference from the GET.invest Finance Catalyst. So indeed, the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support only works with locally owned and managed companies, whereas the GET.invest Finance Catalyst can also work with internationally owned companies. And additionally, what you see on the left side of the screen there, what we call as a business development support, this is one element of TA support that you only get through this service. And this is not fixed. What happens is usually the advisory team, which is one of the 8 advisory teams you see on the screen there, and you probably know, if not most of them, at least 1 or 2 of them. So these advisory teams, so one of them will sit with you and basically look at your business, your operations, your finances, etc., and then come up with a strategy with you to understand how best to prepare you to access finance. What they would also do additionally is to support you in understanding what kind of investment strategy you need to look for, over what period of time, over 1 year, over 2 years, right? What would best suit your situation, and what do you need, let's say, which ducks need to fall in place before you're able to access the financing. So these are 2 types of advisory support you would receive if you're accepted into the service. And they can go both hand in hand in terms of the advisory on both can be done simultaneously, or entirely depending on your need and your company's situation. It can be staggered. So let's say they first work with you on your investment strategy, but then they can come back later and say, okay, let's now redefine your business strategy in a certain way to suit the investment strategy, or maybe let's talk about bringing in better human resources to support this, the investment that we're going to attract. So it's really very customized to your need. And in many cases, or pretty much in all cases, they would also factor in your, let's say, country situation or your market segment situation, etc. So that's how the service looks. Happy to answer more questions on this later, but for now, please switch to the next slide. Right. So what you're looking at here is the pilot phase numbers from which was conducted from January 2022 to December 2023, so almost 2 years, during which we absorbed 34 clients into the service. And of the 34 clients, the ticket sizes you see there were that were mentioned at the point of application when they applied to the service was around 620,000 euros on an average. And yeah, there's also a breakdown of the different market segments that basically clients were from. What we are very happy about is that of the 34 clients, more than 76% were either women-owned or managed companies. Quite a few of them were from the UNLDCs, meaning we had a company from Mali, we had also companies from Malawi, Togo, etc. So it was quite a wide range of clients. Also from harder to reach countries, right, for accessing investments. And of course, productive use of energy was quite a big element of it. So it was about 1/3 of these clients were from PUE, from the PUE sector. Next slide, please. So what you see on the screen now are the preliminary results. We are indeed, or rather these results keep getting updated every quarter or so. And that's intentional because, for instance, if you're introduced to a financier today, it could be that the due diligence with the financier takes 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. And right, so every time there is some progress in the conversation, these numbers would also accordingly be updated. So more than 55%, or so basically about 56% of the clients, so 19 out of 34 clients, were successfully introduced. And what I mean by this is that we kind of got them into, got them an entry into conversations with financiers, which we've understood is itself quite hard. So for a financier to take a look at the documents provided and say, looks interesting, let's talk more. So that's that stage of, 19 clients have been successfully introduced to financiers. And the volume of the financing that these 19 companies were discussing, and these were across 35 financiers. So as you see, it's not that we introduce you to one financier, but multiple, right? So that was in the range of around 27 million euros. And indeed, 8 companies out of the 19 have already signed financing agreements. And the volume of that financing agreement is about 10.3 million euros. Now, what you see on the right side of the screen is the types of financing that have been supported through these conversations. And as you see, it's a blend. So just for you to understand, we don't work specifically on helping you access grants because that's not the work we do. Our work is to get you to access commercial financing, meaning debt, equity, RBF, or anything else of that kind, to kind of get you beyond the grant phase, let's say. But however, as part of that investment strategy that you might be discussing with your advisory team, indeed, grants are also, in many cases, a part of it, just to ensure sustainability of the strategy that you're working on. Next slide, please. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds or a minute to read through these comments. So these are the comments that we received from the clients of the pilot phase, so some of the 34 clients. Just please read through them and see, yeah, basically what you might get as a beneficiary of the service. Happy to share the slide deck with you later. I know that there might be questions or there might be, yeah, I know that there's also one or two other polls coming up, so we will move on to the next slide now. But I hope you get an idea of indeed, yeah, what you might be receiving as a beneficiary of the service. Next slide, please. Right. So let's talk business a bit here. So how can you indeed become a beneficiary of either of GET.invest services, right? The intention is not to only limit you to one. The intention is that whichever service can serve you the best is what you should ideally receive. And we are entirely, let's say, we are technology agnostic as long as you're working in a clean energy sector. We are size agnostic, so you could be at your scale-up phase, or you could even be a company that needs millions of euros in financing. So irrespective of that, everyone's welcome to apply. And so, yeah, just some, let's say, logistical questions. So when is the right time to apply? Literally any time. Apply today, apply tomorrow, doesn't matter. The applications are accepted on a rolling basis. We do process the applications in the form of rounds, but still, yes, you can apply anytime. And then if not this round, it goes into the next round. You will hear back from us. To where you should apply, it's simply you go to the GET.invest website, as you see on the right side there. You go to the GET.invest website, you click on what's called as the Finance Access Advisory. And what I would very highly recommend is to read each of these sub-tabs that you see on the screen there under number 2, under the arrow that shows number 2. So read each of it to understand what exactly you're getting into, what kind of support it might be. And also, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me or also to the apply email address on there. And then once you've equipped yourself with all the knowledge on what you get out of the service, you have the apply button in green right there, which you click, and it takes you into an application form portal. So that's basically how you apply for the service. And who can apply for the service? Like I said, we are working with companies that are looking to access commercial finance, and for that, in let's say most of the cases, we insist on you already generating revenue in your company, but with some very rare exceptions where we understand that this might not be the case, but you might still be a high potential company. We might have an exception where also a company that's not actually revenue generating or a project that's not revenue generating would also be accepted. Like I said, again, it's a rare case. There's further information on the eligibility available on one of those many tabs you see there. So please read through it and understand better on how, yeah, or if or not you would be eligible for the service. Next slide, please. Right. So how do you make your application successful? Actually, it's quite simple. Please provide all of the information that you have available, right? We understand that some of you may or may not have the exact documentation that's being requested in the application form. And this is the main reason that the documentation has been also made optional in some cases. But what's crucial for us is that we need to see that you've at least thought through your business, right? We don't need your documents to be perfect, but we need something to start working with. So please upload whatever you have. And then number two is that sometimes our advisors might contact you because they want to clarify certain information you've provided, or let's say they want to actually talk to you about how they can customize the service for you. And so they contact you right after you make the application. So what's very important is you be responsive to the advisory teams. And then three, it would be crucial for us to see motivated and serious clients. So express what your vision is and what is your motivation for running the business you are running. Four, please be honest. If you don't know the information to something, say, I don't know, and that's okay. We will not judge you for that. We understand that different companies have different information available to them. So it's really okay to say, I don't know, if you don't know. You will not be rejected because you say, I don't know, right? And finally, if you have specific challenges that you're struggling with and you want us to keep in consideration, please always mention this in your application form in the right column, so that the advisor could already understand what they might need to work with you on, right? So whatever information you provide to us will be very helpful, and it would in fact be more beneficial to you. That's about it in terms of how you can make your application successful. And I believe that's also the end of the presentation. If you could check the next. Yes, perfect. You also see my email address there. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime, even later, if you have questions. Always happy to hear from clients. And that's it from my side. I can now hand it over to Jessica.
Thanks, Divya. We have got a couple of questions in the chat, so maybe you can answer those as
Sure.
Tazirai is talking. So I'll now hand over to Tazirai to go through her experience at Natfort Investments with the FRS.
Thank you, Jessica. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tarisai. I'm the finance manager for Natfort Investments. Next slide, please. Natfort Investment is a holding company for two strategic companies, Natfort Energy and Natfort Solar Projects. Natfort Energy is a social enterprise arm which has been providing clean energy to marginalized communities. For us to achieve this, we've been distributing solar off-grid products on pay-as-you-go payment model, and we've also been receiving support from GET.invest. Next slide, please. We've managed to receive support from GET.invest in the form of those 4 pillars, and the first one is leadership and strategy. GET.invest team has helped us in formulating our strategy, and we managed to develop a 3-year strategic plan. It has also helped us in formulating a succession plan for organization, and also just provided general guidance. Number 2, it has also helped us in formulating a lean sales and distribution channel, which has led to a reduction in our operating expenses. The third one is credit management. The team has assisted us in coming up with a customer-centric approach as far as credit management is concerned. And also, it has helped us reduce our collection rates, increase our collection rates, sorry. Then the fourth one is fundraising. The team has helped us in developing a hit list with potential funders, debt financiers, grant financiers. It has also helped us in to prepare a data room for our company, and also just to be investor ready. The last one is development and tightening of our internal controls, which includes development of various standard operating procedures, policies, and also company documentation. For us to achieve or to receive this support, we had noted the following challenges. Next slide, please. We had noted a lack of sustainable sales revenue, very high operating costs, low collection rates, cash flow challenges, high delinquency ratios. We also noted difficulties in accessing financing due to our geographical location, and also absence of collateral for us to get funding from local banks. Lastly, we noted that our organization didn't have inadequate standard operating procedures, policies, and we had weak internal controls. Next slide, please. We are happy to report that with the assistance of GET.invest, we've managed to raise more than 500,000 debt funding from various funders. We have also managed to raise more than 600,000 in grant funding for us to subsidize our pay-as-you-go business model. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Tarisai. Brilliant picture. And hopefully the participants have seen how useful the support you got is. So I'll now hand over, before we jump into the Q&A, to Lillian from WidEnergy, who's going to also provide an overview of the support they received and how it helped their business. And then we'll move on to the Q&A. Lillian, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can also see you.
I can't see myself, so I'm trying to figure out where is my video. But good to know that you can hear me clearly. So thank you, Jessica, for the introduction. My name is Liliane. I'm the CEO, and I'm also the co-founder of WidEnergy. WidEnergy focuses on lending portfolio and distribution network. We are dedicated to empowerment of women, and we do provide last mile distribution of solar home systems. And we are all currently introducing productive use of energy, such as solar pumps, as well as solar freezers. I should say that we are very delighted to be here, basically to share our experience with GET.invest, which we benefited from in both sides. We did benefit from the GET.invest Finance Catalyst, and we also benefited from the GET.invest Finance Readiness. And as what I would say a case study really for WidEnergy, back in 2020, it should have been September 2020, that's when we started working with GET.invest Catalyst. That was so perfectly timely because at that point, we were a startup with very limited resources, trying to apply for one of the biggest funding in the off-grid sector, which was the Beyond the Grid Fund at that time. We got accepted to the support. We worked with a team of GET.invest Catalyst, which was very supportive. The BGFA application really threw out the team that you don't have as a startup, as a company. They play that role. They looked into our financial model. They supported us throughout the application up until March 2021 when we submitted the application. 2023, fast forward, we were accepted. We signed the agreement with Beyond the Grid Fund. I think one of the first people I wanted to share the news with was a team that we had worked with on that project with GET.invest. The approach that they took, they were supporting us in the impact finance and the COVID finance at that time. They supported us in application of other impact financing that were available at that time. It wasn't very easy. It wasn't something that WidEnergy on its own was going to be able to go through. They had a wider range of network. We worked with one of them, which was the ERF at that time. We worked with them through another funding that was successful. And all that really, today when I was preparing for this, looking back, I'm like, the support that we had through the GET.invest Finance Catalyst team was amazing. We are here really with the support that we received from them. And as I said, we also benefited from the GET.invest Finance Readiness, which on its own was completely different from the first one, but also played a great role in WidEnergy's journey. This is 2023. This is after COVID and all the impact that a pay-as-you-go company can go through. And we had a team of the Catalyst off-grid team, the Catalyst Energy Advisors. And this team is different from the previous one because they come as hands-on into the business with the knowledge that they have. They were knowledgeable about the business. The support was amazing because they understood where we were, the challenges we were going through. We had support as I'm trying to remember, as Tarisai mentioned, it's all those support that we receive. But my focus now is to talk to those companies that are still wondering what type of support we got or what a support that GET.invest can give you. Our leadership, the team structure, the credit management, the customer-centric reorientation, what we're doing. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible? Sorry, my AirPod just got. So there was that support that we got, working on our financial projection, and that really took us to a level that I don't think we would have managed as a company, as WidEnergy, with limited resources. We really worked through this period with the Catalyst Energy Advisors as that extra hands that you do not have on your team, those extra hands that really dig deep with you, and it has been an impressive journey for us. So in terms of what maybe I could tell to the team that is listening, to the companies that are listening, it's never easy. It's super, super challenging. But knowing what type of support you need, understanding where your challenges are, and really riding the support, ensuring that once you understand what are the limitation that you have in your company, then go forward for the support, either the finance readiness or the GET.invest Finance Catalyst. It is very important to be committed. It is very important, as Divya said, to be honest. It's first of all understanding what you need, going forward and asking for those support that you need in your company. And trust me, I wish I was one of the participants in this webinar 3 years ago, and I would have definitely done it the right way. Thank you. Thanks, Jessica. And ready to jump onto the questions if there are any.
Thanks, Lillian. We've got a few minutes, so I'm wondering now that the participants have heard about the scheme, whether we should bring up the poll again and get an understanding of some of the challenges that you might be facing in your business. So Mayjoy, if you can launch that poll again, and we'll just give everyone 4 or 5 minutes or so to fill that out. If you do have any questions in the meantime, please do pop them in the chat, and then we'll get to those after. Thanks, Mayjoy. Okay, we'll just leave the poll up 1 more minute while people are potentially finishing off. But if there are any questions, please do put your hand up or type them into the chat. Now, I know Divya's been answering some of the questions in the chat as we've gone along, but Divya, I don't know if you wanted to summarize any of the questions or the answers that have come in so far.
Sure. Thanks, Jessica. Just as a quick reminder to everybody on here, what we do is support you by providing technical advisory, right, through one of, let's say, the 9 consulting firms that we work with. We do not directly provide you financing or funding, so just to get that clear. We don't provide grants, right? But a key point that I did forget to mention is that the TA that you receive is entirely free of cost, so you don't pay for any of it. it's entirely taken care of, let's say, by the many donors from our side. So if you get accepted into the service and you have a consulting team working with you, you pay nothing to them. We pay the consulting firms. What your contribution to the work would be is your responsiveness, is that you communicate well, is that you also ask questions, and you get the best benefit of having experts work with you. And yeah, that's basically it. Any questions, please feel free to just raise your hand. I'm happy to engage in a conversation.
We've got another question in the chat, Divya. How long does it take to get a response for the application?
Right. So it depends on at what point of time in an application round you apply. So let's say tonight, indeed, is the closing of one of the application rounds. So obviously, if you apply today, before 11:59 p.m. Tonight, you would have a faster response than if you were to apply tomorrow. Because if you were to apply tomorrow, then you go into the next application round. Again, it's a bit difficult for me to tell you the exact time frame because it again depends on the service. And it depends on, let's say you're company A, and we've decided that company A is most suited for the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support. Then the advisors of the GET.invest Finance Readiness Support will already reach out to you, and they will look at your documentation and they will try to assess what level of advisory you need, etc. So this might take a little longer. As against in the case of a company that potentially is allocated to the GET.invest Finance Catalyst, and let's say you've uploaded all your financial documents, your business plan, everything is super clear, then it could be that within 4 to 5 weeks you already get a confirmation of acceptance into the service. So just because it's not a one size fits all, right? Because we're trying to basically we are really trying to customize it to the client needs. It's very difficult to say exactly how long it will take for you to be accepted into the service. I hope that answers your question.
Are there any other questions? Maybe then, whilst everyone's thinking of any final questions that they might like answered, I'll share the details for the poll, and Divya, you can have a quick look, and maybe we can run through some of the details.
Somehow it's I don't seem to see it anymore for some reason. There we go. Jessica, I don't see the actual responses to the poll.
No, it doesn't seem to be working. So what we'll do, Divya, is download them and send them after the recording.
Yes, please. Definitely. Makes sense.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Divya? Now is your chance to get all of those questions answered from the expert, or from Tarisai or Lillian, if you'd like any more honest feedback from companies of what it was like to go through the FRS process.
I'm wondering if I can actually ask either Tarisai or Lily to share, if either of them are open for it, to share, let's say, a specific instance of let's say, a challenge you were facing that your advisory team helped you navigate. Maybe something comes to mind. And if you knew today what you know, if you knew then what you know today, would you have dealt with it differently? So I don't mean to put either of you on the spot, but I think it might be helpful also to the audience to hear from you.
Sure, Divya, I could speak a whole day about the FRS that we received, how it has helped WidEnergy. But a few points really that I would say, if I knew what I know now then, it would have helped a lot. So when we received the FRS, one of the things that really shocked me as a leader of the company was the things that we did not look at. How we did not dig down into what customer needs are. What type of business, how support are we giving to the customer? And from the time we worked with the team, we've moved on to what we say old portfolio and new portfolio. So I keep referring to old portfolio because the old portfolio was what we were doing really without taking into account a lot of learnings that we received from the FRS. And the new one is what we are doing, knowing after the process we went through with the support. And it's, I said it before on a different platform, it's black and white. And especially for a pay-as-you-go company, really, I think I wish we could turn back the hands of time to go back to 3 years ago, and I could apply to GET.invest and then learn what I learned 3 years later. But obviously, failures are good. They help us learn. And this is exactly what the support has given WidEnergy.
Thanks, Lily.
Tarisai, do you have anything to add? You're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I could actually add to what Lillian has mentioned, being a customer-centric company, which focuses more on servicing the needs of the customers, not overburdening the customers. Also, I would also pick a point where we had challenges in accessing financing, and GET.invest also helped us to develop a hit list and also helped us in connecting with potential investors. And I'm happy to report that we've actually sealed a deal through GET.invest support for our debt funding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant to hear the successes as well off the back of the program. So I think we'll probably end it there if there are no further questions. Obviously, we've got you will have Divya's contact. We're just going to put up a short poll in terms of how you found today's webinar. Whilst you're filling that out, I would just like to say thank you, all of you, for your time and attention. And obviously, I'd like to thank Divya, Lillian, and Tarisai for sharing their knowledge and experiences with everyone today, so openly and honestly. And also a shout out to the wider GDC team, Charlotte, Cynthia, and Mayjoy, who at the back end have helped make this webinar seamless today. We will be circulating the recording, so if you did miss any of it, you'll be able to get a chance to listen to it, so keep an eye out for that. And obviously feel free to share it onwards to any other company you think might benefit from the GET.invest support. So thank you again, and see you next time.